Say we had x squared minus x equals 0. So now we have an equation. We want to say what times itself minus that same number equals 0. Okay, that's our equation is. We're trying to solve for that. We have our polynomial set to 0. So let's check this out. We're going to factor this. Well, when we factor, remember going back to the 12, when we factor, we're basically breaking down. We're trying to figure out what are the root numbers, what essentially makes up that given number. So we can factor, just as we can factor 12, we can factor x squared minus x, as I said. So x squared minus x, we're going to factor that as we did before. Does anyone remember how we factored that?
Had an x
Yep.
In parentheses, then x minus 1.
Excellent. And that's equal to 0 now. Before it was just an expression. Now it's an equation. Okay? X times x minus 1 equals 0. Well, now using this beautiful thing called the zero product property, we can determine, well, let's just talk about what this is. Zero product. Product meaning multiplication. So zero product meaning, look, x times this equals 0. So there's a zero product. Okay? So now the property meaning a sort of a means of getting at an answer faster. Distributive property is a means. A property is a means of getting at the answer faster. So x times x minus 1 equals 0. Well, the way we can solve this now is we say, well, what number, we know positively what number times any number equals 0?
0.
0. So x has to equal 0. But, and here's the first time I brought this up, well, not really. In a sense, it's in a different angle. What did we talk about? The first thing that we talked about today was variable. What is a variable? A number that's able to vary or change. So x can equal 0, or it can equal something else, and we're going to find out what that is. Well, we said that if what number times any number equals 0, and we put 0 in for x here, if we put a number in for x here, a different one, doesn't have to be 0, we can still get this 0 as our answer. So what number will we put in for x and still get 0 as the answer?
1.
Excellent. So x equals 0 or 1. And there's ways that you can write this solution set. This is something called, I can't really write at this angle. 0, 1 satisfies this equation where x squared minus x equals 0. We applied zero product property to x squared minus x, factoring that polynomial. Recall a polynomial is we have a difference of monomials, or it can be a sum of monomials, or just a monomial. In this case, a difference of monomials. X squared is a monomial because it's a product of two variables minus another monomial, which is just a variable. So x squared minus x equals 0. That's just an equation I made up. Remember, equation we have equal. Both sides have to be equal, as Dave pointed out before. So in this case, when then we applied zero product property, we factored it out. We figured out what do these both share in common. They both have x. We factored out an x. Remember, x times x is x squared, because you think of the two little ones here. And when you have two little ones, you add those exponents, we get x squared. And x times negative 1 is negative x. So x times x minus 1 is 0. When we apply zero product property, that simply means we're going to figure out what numbers satisfy this equation whereby one of those numbers will have to be 0. Okay? So all that being said, as I was saying before, the tangent about trying to find meaning solving things, we're just trying to figure out easier ways to solve problems. If I wrote x squared minus x equals 0 and said, quickly, give me the answer, what are the answers? Some of you might struggle to think immediately, what's the answer? Oh, 1 and 0. Some of you might see it immediately and just go 0. I don't know. Actually, I'm curious. Do you think if I just wrote x squared minus x equals 0, you guys would have immediately come up with 1 and 0?
I would have come up with 0.
Would you have come up with 1 right away?
I would have come up with 0 right away, but not 1.
Well, that's interesting right there. But the point is, I don't think I would immediately come up with 1 and 0. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, maybe then, but you know, normally if someone threw that at me, I wouldn't immediately come up with 1 and 0. But by setting up this zero product property and factoring it out, we can make it much easier, and then we can determine the answer. And what's great about this is that there isn't really any doubt when it comes to this. Whereas when you just look at it, when you just eyeball it, you might just think, well, I came up with 1, but is that the only possible answer? When you factor it out, then you don't have to worry because this is it. Does that make sense? Because if you came up with 0 and you came up with 1, you're both right, but you're both missing the second half of the solution set. Okay?